Hey, what's going on, Jembecca? And everybody else that decides to tune in today or watch the VOD. Hope everybody's having a good time. We're going to have a good time ourselves doing some work on the Askosi and getting some work done on Bloodsummon concepts as well for race number 5 for Cosmonarchy. Got Neblime in the chat. How you doing, dude? And yeah, beyond that, we're probably going to do some Sovereign Saga work as well. I think it's a good idea. Revisit that when possible, where possible. Okay. So let's take a look at the Askosi a little bit here. We'll get started on what actually we need to do. Too full, ate too much food. I hear you, man. I know that feeling lately. It's a little too easy to be fat these days. If we could somehow adjust society so that it wasn't so easy to be fat, but it was still easy to not starve, that would be really good. But, yeah, no, how I go. Alright. Who doesn't love a holdout? That's right. We'll take a look at that a little bit later, of course. Oh yeah, and of course I do have to get to bed sometime soon, actually. And by soon I mean like within the next 5 hours or whatever. Because I have to wake up at 5 a.m. my time. It's me who's pulling the Neblime for a change. Although oftentimes he would wake up at like 3 a.m., so it's still not quite Neblime. But... oh yeah, fat does not seem so bad. I mean, it's like you said earlier, you could sustain yourself off of just looking at pictures in Visual Pizza with all the people's cooking. So, what's the big deal, you know? Alright, so there's a couple of things here related to the Askosi. Oh yeah, I guess like first thing is I should open up the test map and add more Askosi units, since we are missing some. I don't actually know how we're going to do this alphabetically. I feel like that's kind of pointless to even try at this point. Probably instead we should do it by tier. That makes the most sense. So we have... don't ask me why the constituent is down here. IDK, LOL, FBM. Okay, so... I think we probably wipe the existing units, and we just do, let's go unit ID. So obviously we got to do Pilgrim, Proselyte, and Dyad. This is 439 for the Pilgrim, 443, Proselyte, and the Dyad is 444. And then we have the Missionary, Cardinal, Mimic, and Vicar, of course. So we'll just go ahead and do this. This will probably be how I organize it. Alphabetically never really made sense. It was only like that because that's how it works for the... It was only ever like that because the SEM draft by default indexes them like that. It's not actually an intuitive system, so we're going to do it a little bit differently now. We have the power. Rove starts at 449. Let's go ahead and take care of this here. Looks like it ends at 452 with the Intendant, and then we go Helion. Is there a point to separating air versus ground? I mean, I can see an argument for it, but I don't know. It kind of feels like there's not much of a point. Huh? I think we'll go ahead and do Constituent, Helion, Emissary, Inkblot, High Raid. Constituent being 566. And then Helion being 453. 556 caps at tirade. Okay. That's what I think there. 4 units out of the proscenium. 4 units out of the Xylode. 4 units out of the Panoply. And 4 units out of the Lotiro. It's at Avatar 538 for the Avatar. Thomolog is 542. I know we have the Petract up next, I think, 543. Then Crematorium. Well, that's a different thing entirely, isn't it? So, go ahead and do the 4 units out of the Astrolabe. And 4 units out of the Obelisk. Enough. So here we have 4 in the Crematorium. Actually, the Crematorium is technically this, right? After that, we have Aphorist, which is actually our first unit out of that. So that's 551. Yeah, I was in a... I didn't always make the units correctly there. Oh. Where am I at here? 538. I actually putting... Oh, Avatar at 538 is supposed to... So we're just... I mean, this is what data entry looks like. This is what silly looks like when you can't place the units in the map editor directly because of LARD code being applied to the editor as well as the game. I'm looking forward to when CHK draft gets finished up so we don't have to do that. That is a lot of Marines. So by Marines, you mean Maverick, of course. I guess they are using the Marine graphic, right? What's up, Shambler? Welcome. Aphorist is 551. Did I already do that? I did not. And then Dorinan being 552 is going to be down here. And Agonist 553. And Ontis 554. 554 or 5? Yeah, 555. Vanguard 555. We might have to like space some of these guys out too. We'll see if they decollide when we start it up. Okay. So then we hit a Crano territory, which is this unit here. Iconoclast at 1 above that. And then Paraclete over here at 558. Oh yeah, the Islet. Do we even bother with that, I wonder? Like we don't really need that. Yeah, those are wards. Those get made by other units. We don't really put those on them. Though it wouldn't hurt if we did. Insurance is up next. We got Insurance, Silver Soul, Ghost Ridden, and Jorn. Okay, so these are all these are all fine to include just outright, except for the Jorn, of course, which isn't implemented. I should believe the last entry here. Silver Soul at 584, 585. And then I guess 587 is Ilgard, yeah. And then our structures are similarly kind of cursed insofar as we don't have like a good setup for them. But I might have already added a lot of those, so I guess we'll go ahead and take a look. Hey, thanks, Adam. Yeah, we just started, but right now I'm just adding the units that the Askosi have to the test map. So we actually and we're organizing them by like what structure makes them and stuff. Oh, I can see I skipped over the tier 3 air. But yeah, we have a Crano through Paraclete, Helion through Tirade.
Our hands for yours.
And we have a Constituent up here as well. Nice. Okay. So let's go ahead and grab the unit IDs for the Limir. 2.
Heaven sent scanning. Surround our foes for yours.
Okay, so first thing I'm noticing is that apparently I never plugged in the Limir update. Let's see. So I have the file here, but of course, for whatever reason, I just never actually added it. And I think the same is true for the pilot, actually, weirdly enough. 592. Okay. And I see that all the time in the casts, and so it would be nice to fix that. But the Limir unlikely to ever show up in a cast, but it's good to get them done. Weirdly, I feel like I might have the... Yeah, the Egocent has a wireframe, right? And then the Oxine has a wireframe. And so I really wonder how the Islet slipped by in that respect. Let's see where I sent it. Sure, it was a while ago. Maybe I never did. I would have thought. Well, I guess I'll send it to him now and say, like, hey, did I ever send you this? Because I swear I did send it to him. We'll see. He's a South Korean modder that also does a bunch of wireframe work, and has been doing so for Cosmonarchy for some time. But one problem is I actually don't know where I would have, when I would have added the Islet. Is the other problem, so that's okay. All right, so I went ahead and sent that to him. So maybe that's why we don't actually have the wireframe. That would certainly explain some things, you know. Scroll back up here to our UI folder. I'm gonna put this into here and this into here, and then we'll compile all. Compose all, as it's called. Okay. So now, if we go and select the Limir, we have it.
Heaven scanning. Deployable. Information is clouded in humility.
Just go ahead and do the same sort of box selection here for everything. Make sure we're not missing any wireframes. Looks appropriate. Funnily enough, for the I put the Egocent here because by ID instead of the... Where is it? Because it's made by the Histrion, so I didn't put the Alasine there. It's 590. Alright, so I don't actually think there were any unit entries here that gave any problems on the collision side of things. That's good. Okay.
Our words for yours.
Okay. So, with that done, we now have a little bit of a better idea as to what we might want to do for let's see. Need the Bloodsummon advisor to be set. That was just for the Prig test or whatever. What do we got? Entry, exit for the Nidus link. Yeah, that's fine. Good deal. It looks like I actually have an updated version of the test map that doesn't have the issue that Shambler reported as an issue, which was the command card error or whatever it was, which is deliberate actually. But it looks like I've already deleted it from the test map there. Go here to test, and replace that, and let's say update test map with more Askosi units. Oh, we didn't check to see if we needed to add any structures. Hey, what's up, Bitty B? So, Arch, Bounty, Chantry, Cipher, Cosmoscope, Function, Gauntlet. We have the domain down here as well. So, Grandstand, Landlock, Radix, Abutment, Conduit, Bestiary, Dorminge, Domain, Panoply, Lotiro, Proscenium, and Xylode. So, yeah, it looks like we actually have all of the structures except for the Obelisk. Oh, we're missing the Obelisk, the Hearth Shard, which is implemented but doesn't actually... You can't make it yet. It doesn't exist in that way. We need the Obelisk, the Hearth Shard, and... I want to say... where's Obelisk in here? 563 on the Obelisk. But then there's also the Lecrot. 596. And Hearth Shard is 597. That should be all of the structures then. Obviously, I do want to, well, maybe it's not obvious, but I do want to add more utility structures to the Askosi later. But that's not going to be anytime soon, of course. But yeah, Hearth Shard, Lecrot, and Obelisk. Yeah, I think that's every structure. So.
Clad in humility.
Yeah, so we've got 8 here, 5, 6 here. No, 5 here.
Our hands
and 9 here. So that is, of course, a whopping 23 structures, I believe, right now. So if I were to select this, I'd get 22. So which one are we missing? Or did my math incorrect? Do we have a Chantry? Yeah, we do. Yeah, I think we got everything from tier 1. Oh, we're missing the Astrolabe, aren't we? Yeah, that makes sense. Alright, that explains it. The Astrolabe is... 546. Eventually I'll order the structures better, but it doesn't really need that. It doesn't need to be done right now. You can't copy and paste units with extended unit IDs, and so it is really obnoxious to try to migrate stuff like that. So, yeah. All right, now. We have our test map. We've even updated it. What do we want to do next? I want to jump in here and take a look at what we got. For a while, I've wanted the Mimic to be a little bit different in its design, as you may have imagined. Oh, there was also the silhouette test that somebody posted in, maybe it was Artist's Apiary? No. It was Real Time for Real Men. Leggy blocky leggy. You guys, right? What's up, Alexander? Yeah, so Insurant and Silver Soul and Missionary and Vicar and Proselyte. I'm pretty sure that's that. Though it could be that the No, this is definitely proselyte, judging by the hands or whatever. Yeah, it's kind of difficult, obviously, as you might imagine. Or maybe that's not even the same unit. I'm not entirely sure. But it's definitely, you know, it's difficult to pick them apart. Obviously, there's color variance between the proselyte and the missionary. So in theory, that should help like break it up. But they are based on the same model, and they have the same idle animation and whatnot. So that's something that we do want to work on with the Askosi. At the same time, I do think there's an argument to make. Also, I don't know why the Silver Soul was even included in this, because it feels very different than the other units. That's like a really easy one for me to pick apart. But anyway, it's not that important. I do think that there's something to be said about like fixing this stuff, but my asterisk is, can we reasonably deploy these changed graphics in the middle of a tournament when readability is actually a... This sounds really weird to say, but as soon as I say it, it'll be seen as true, I think. Readability is a balance thing, in a way. It affects balance. If it's more legible than it was before, that is, in a weird kind of way, a buff/nerf to the unit, because a buff for the player's legibility that's owning them, a nerf for the player that's owning them because now the enemy can also see it better, right? So these are things that I'm considering from this perspective, and I'm just trying to say, like, I don't know, maybe it's not something that we ought to update between tournament games. You know, maybe I have to wait until the Askosi get knocked out, which would mean both like Shopkeeper Dog and Hit 'em Up are out, because Hit 'em Up is 1/4 Askosi. So I'm just factoring that in. Obviously, I do want to buff the visual aspect, right? But this might look like me doing some modeling and then not actually syncing the changed models into the... not actually syncing the changed models in that way. And so... Oops, I actually wanted to keep that open. So I'm going to actually keep the proselyte as it is. And part of that is because the proselyte is already the icon for the race. And I don't think it needs to be changed further. Oh, there was one thing that I wanted to quickly take a look at. I forgot about this. Idle animations on Askosi is sometimes annoying because it'll shimmer without moving. Do you mean like while cloaked? Because that's like a commonality across all units, but obviously Askosi have more active cloak. Oh, I actually think I have this file replaced, but I need to like PR it onto the... We have cosmonarchy.com as... Oh, no, that's not it either. Yeah. Okay. So I have access to this for the purposes of making PRs, so... This is... I'm gonna do that just so I have that. Where do we go here? Cosmonarchy.com. So assets is... I would just say to that, Alexander, like, this is the kind of thing where if we had a PTR that wasn't pre-release, because pre-release is the release waiting room, right? It's the, like, this is a release candidate for later, you know? If we had like a pre-alpha, or like we had like a alpha, beta, and live, if that's what we were doing, then we would definitely have a lot of people going for the angle of like, you know, on the PTR, I can go ahead and push this change. But that's just not really how the game is tech stack works. So that's something to think about. Let's see here. We have, okay. Can I take... I can't really drag these files, I guess. Alright. I have to kind of, like, bring my changes to master real quick, and then I have to make a new branch. Yeah, I have to do this in really a weird way. I have to publish this branch. And then I get to switch back to master by bringing my changes. And then I get to pick these things again. And then I get to do new branch. I hope by doing this, Veek will see how dumb it is for him to have to approve changes that are basic in that way. So, make these corrections to Zerg stats and passives. Push that. And then I get to switch back to my Bloodsummon and it, and then just save that stuff for later. So let's go to merge requests, and we will go ahead and create merge request. Assign as a reviewer Veek. Then go back to merge requests. Do a new merge request. We have to select this, and then your branches. Assign this to me. Your merge request. Okay. All right, that I was reminded of that because I just looked at the proselyte model. Anyway, we have ourselves here a look at the missionary, and for those who don't know, this is actually based on the Hurakan mesh. But I think when we use the Hurakan next to him, I don't see a huge resemblance, honestly. Because the silhouette is pretty different. Even the way that the idle animation is, it's like a little bit different. But I also think, though, that there's an element to be said here about if we were to go into pose mode, which I was trying to remember the hotkeys for Blender. It's been a bit. So if we were to do this, the idle pose would have him be, having his weapons raised a little bit more. The other thing that I think we can pretty easily do is go ahead and extend out the back of the weapon a little bit so that it fills up more of the profile. And then if we compare...
To speak.
That's not going to make a huge difference looking at the size of the gun at the end of the day, but it will do something a little bit different. Adjusting the position of these a little bit is pretty useful for at-a-glance visibility.
Deployable. Arriving.
The proselyte is actually pretty distinct in the back, I think. Much more boxy, much less like
Begin the sermon.
elliptical. But if we go ahead and take... actually, I do think it's just going to be this. I'll like bring that in a little bit. I think that actually helps the silhouette, but it is only for a little bit from that frame. Fundamentally, they still both have shoulder pads and, you know, pauldrons or whatever, and they still both have their thing, so... If we make the missionary just a touch more like squared in the shoulders, I guess you could say, then I do think that this helps bring out the differences in that respect. I guess one thing I probably should have done is take a snapshot of the frame from before. We can still kind of do that by comparing it to so this looks to be, let's compare these. I think this is frame 12, by the way. So if we were to do this, it's not going to be one-to-one because it's missing one of the final compositing steps, but this hopefully helps to illustrate what we're working with here. Oops. Trying to scroll to zoom, but I have to control. Okay. So yeah, it's not one-to-one scale here, but this obviously on the right here is the one that's in-game. So the before and after here is a little bit like, yeah, you can see more player color on the gun. It's wider a little bit, or longer rather. Shoulders are just a touch more square. Positioning on the this bad boy up top is a little bit more defined. It's not that much, so we probably want to do a little bit more work. One thing I think could help is still some more work on the idle pose in particular. So if we were to select the armature and go back into pose mode, we could maybe... adjust out that wide stance a bit better. So he's kind of like has the weapons a little bit more out. His arms a little bit more out. And then also another thing I was kind of thinking of, I don't really know how easy this is going to be to communicate with the silhouette that we got, but if we make him kind of like thin in the torso, almost like very much unrealistically so, that might help. But at the same time, I actually don't know how obvious that is. It looks really fucking funny looking at it from the angle that we can see in the 3D view. but it might actually look appropriately weird in other contexts. And like really messing with the proportions is one of the biggest things you can do to help separate them from the bulkier frames that you'll see otherwise. The only question you gotta watch out for is like, does this fuck up their animations in some way? But it shouldn't, because all we did was make something a little bit lankier or whatever, right? So it does make them look a little bit fucking weird, but in a way that I think is appropriate for an alien species. So if anyone actually comes out with a next-gen revolutionary RTS game, I'm 100% positive it will be Pronoga. Hey, what's up, Jet-Ace? You know you're playing both StarCraft music and your own music on stream? Oh yeah, that's just because I'm idling in the test map like a goober. My bad. Poor Lizardman needs to eat. He's eating. He's already eaten, dude. Out here on the battlefield with an hourglass finger. Yeah, that's definitely true. What's up, Balethal? One of the issues is all of them have fixed forward-facing weapons on both arms. Yeah, it's actually not true for the Silver Soul, which is one of the things that makes the Silver Soul the most distinct silhouette here. The Vicar also doesn't, but I have to revisit the Vicar a little bit anyway, because it was just a quick kit bash. That's honestly one of the major issues with the Askosi units is that so many of them were kit bashes in the sense of like, I don't have a lot of time to do this, I gotta do it right now, and then I wasn't able to revisit them before tournaments start, right? So, also in case you don't notice, I don't care that much about Z fighting, clipping or whatever. This is, yeah, this looks fucking weird, doesn't it? I think that looks appropriately weird, actually. Let's go ahead and try doing the same kind of thing. Oh, we'll add the stuff here as well. The gun's actually maintaining the same size despite the lankier frame. Should be pretty legit. I still like the boxier nature of the pauldrons, but we'll go ahead and adjust them a little bit here. The reason why I don't care as much about clipping in this context is because these are all placeholders, so agonizing over small details that may make 1 pixel of a difference isn't too terrible here. It's not really going to be very helpful for me. But also, you're talking about a situation where the clipping can sometimes actually end up looking like a feature, which is weird to say because you're looking at such small resolutions for the output. So I just wanted to point that out as well. How hard would it be to reverse the walk anim to make them feel more lizard-like? How low res they're... Yeah, exactly, Willifall. Well, it's funny you say that about RTS in general, Jedi. I actually just had a conversation with the guys behind the Edvard and Ludwig, although you're supposed to pronounce that as if they were W, so Edward and Ludwig. Game Design Archive, if you look that up, Game Design Archive, I just had a podcast with them earlier for almost 3 hours. And we did talk a lot about RTS stuff. I think that's coming up a week from today. They should have it out. So. It's going to be a good one. But I enjoyed the conversation. We did talk a lot about what was broken and wrong in RTS games and competitive games in general, as a general note. So some cool thoughts were there. But yeah, you talking about like revolutionizing RTS and stuff. Honestly, I feel like the best revolution you can give them right now is just pointing at the stuff that worked earlier and being like, hey, more of this though. We'll see if I'm right about that. Okay, I think we'll go ahead and consider this as a change. I am still a little bit concerned about the idea of like, adjusting the silhouette in the middle of a tournament, because I feel like it's going to be really odd. I feel like it's going to be really odd for the game to just suddenly have a different looking unit. It could be a problem for balance, but I guess I'll see. If it's just that much of an improvement or whatever, maybe I'll throw it in there anyway. Who knows? That being said, we were just talking, or something that was just mentioned, was reversing the walk cycle. I mean, I don't really know about reversing the walk cycle exactly, but I could play it in reverse, if that's what you mean, Rebecca. I don't know if that would look very good, but we can try. We can try going, 140, 120. What is it? E0, right? No, 100, of course. E0, C0, A0, 80. Oh, I missed 60. Well, that's probably. Yeah, What's up, Jesse? Swapping the knee bend direction. Oh, okay. Well, yeah. I was gonna say playing it backwards ain't gonna really do much, I don't think. But if that's what he's talking about, I can try it. I just never even considered that. That makes more sense. So joint inversion, reversing the walk cycle, or swapping the knee bend direction. Well, the answer to how difficult could it be is probably not for a competent person, but I am not that. Let's find out. It doesn't look like I have any transforms for these. So maybe it's a little bit easier than I was thinking. So this is an IK joint, so I really don't have much of an idea on how to work with this. It looks like I'm missing pole bones. Brother, I don't know what a pole bone is. Veek 7 is Polish. Does that help? Yeah, I feel like there's a missing joint here between, like, at the knee, basically. Because I can, like, slide this back, but I can't really do much else, right? Like, I can do this as part of the walk cycle. I don't appear to be able to bring it to bend the other direction. No. Yeah. IK limits your options, right. Reverse the constraints. I guess we'll have to take a look at this. Let's see. There's inverse kinematics, stiffness. I don't know where the constraints would actually be. I thought it would just be a field here somewhere. Yeah, that's our dev Jesse. Remove the legs, have him bounce on his tail. I thought about that, Shopkeeper Dog. I thought about that. It's the blue bone. Ah, bone constraint. Okay. Okay, so it only exists here. Use tail, stretch, weight position 1, rotation influence 1. So what exactly am I reversing? What do I flip? This is live tech support to help Pronago learn how to 3D model and animate. Mostly the animate part. I kind of know how to model. we found the menu we need, so this is progress. Yeah, for those who don't know, Jesse's been hard at work doing some very epic things, which I will show off. It's this options menu. Guys, this is fucking epic, okay? We probably shouldn't even have these things left. Well, I guess the log randoms should be removed, actually, but I forgot to mention that when he was developing that, so that's on me. But very cool. And eventually we'll have more, including the in-game options menu somehow. It's not easy to flip the IK. Easiest way is actually just to move the joint in edit mode so that the joint is already angled the other way. Oh, so if we went to edit mode and we took this, and what do you mean by angle and move? Like, you mean move as in the G operator? Or should I be rotating it 180 degrees along like the Z axis? move just the dot in the middle. Okay. Oh, okay. So I just move it like this. I shouldn't need to animate that. Oh, look at that. Well, I guess it probably does technically look a little bit more lizard-like, but it also looks fucked up. And I don't know if it looks like the good kind of fucked up, guys. I think it might just look fucked up. Also, does it really look that different? I mean, we're I mean, it does look pretty different here, I guess. Yeah, it looks pretty fucked up. Maybe not that far, then? Yeah, that's a little bit better. There's less gap. And, okay. Yeah, moving it too far. So I guess I moved it a little too far the first time. In fact, I might have moved it too far a lot. Because this almost looks like a goat, like a satyr. It's like prancing forward. I don't know. Does this read in the? His gun kind of covers the sin. What does this look like? I don't know. It might be fine in motion. We'd have to test it, I guess. It does look like a goat. But that, on the plus side, that's less like a human. So, it might still be good. He's here to play the flute and drink wine, and he's all out of wine. Better watch out, dude. Better watch out. Okay. Well, I think we can go ahead and render this guy out. I don't see any reason why not to. Make sure I'm not in edit mode. I am in object, right? Yeah. There's some funky things you can do to make better IK, but it would require more bones. That sounds like the job of whoever makes it the graphic, the final model for this guy. That's what that sounds like. That's what that sounds like to me. That does not sound like my job, respectfully. All right, I'm gonna incur the wrath of the Blender gods, or invite the wrath at the very least. Maybe I'll incur it. And I'm gonna open up the Vicar model while we wait for that other guy to render. We don't need to worry too much about him. Yes, so the Vicar is a very different looking guy, right? I think we can say that. In principle, he's even got like a big ol' like weird thing in the back, which is actually just like it's the thing from the back of the missionary, but rotated, made larger, and then made unitary by deleting the other one. So, yeah, looking at the 3D model, it's going to be really obvious what I did to kitbash stuff like this, at least to some degree. But he's supposed to be a little bit chonkier, right? We can definitely do the same IK thing to him, and we can definitely try and adjust a few things about him overall. You don't think you have access to the new models? It is part of a repository that I don't remember. Do I have a... I thought I had a thing here for it, but I guess it... Oh, models. No. Alright, let's see if I can find it for you. TMW models. It's a public repo, but you may not have it cloned. I will go ahead and... Oh, you know what it is I might not have pushed anything. But if this looks familiar to you... Here, I'll say model repo. I DM'd you the link to this. But I may not have actually pushed a lot of the models. So it may be that like I'm holding on to all of the Askosi stuff like, no, you cannot have them. Yeah, that looks correct. I've got a lot of models in here that I have not actually synced. So I'll fetch to see if I need to pull any. No, doesn't look like it. Okay. Yeah, I guess this would help if anybody wanted to actually use the Askosi shape language in any capacity. Sync current Askosi models. I guess I'll also do the same. I'll sync the Vicar as well. I can't remember why I didn't push them. My thinking was, I think my thinking was probably related to the fact that the my thinking was probably like, well, these aren't ready yet, you know? I'll sync the Protoss models as well. What's up, Tank Wank? How you doing, dude? You got the... I discard the FBX. I don't need it. I don't know what the Quarry blend is. What the fuck is that? Special. Why did I have a Quarry? What is it? Is this just a copy of the Quarry for some reason or another? I might have been trying to like use it as a copy paste into the Machinamentum. Oh, it looks like that's exactly what I was doing, but maybe I just didn't clean up after myself. Okay, yeah, I can just delete that. Flash, Church Door, Exego, Ferrum, JRA. Okay, it's fine. Hey, good shout on the idea though. Unit responses would be pretty legit, I think. All right, add 4 models. Yeah, that's kind of what I just did for the. That is kind of what I did for what I ended up adding as far as the changes to the missionary. And it sounds like, by the way, that my fans quieted down, that we are good to go on the... I won't add Sir Goliath. I don't think we need that. I'll change it into an actual graphic later. Yeah, the... So what I was getting at there was the... I did try to make him lankier and like slimmer, in a capacity that really doesn't suit a more human setup. So hopefully that ends up coming out there. What the fuck? Okay, I don't need that. Okay, I think the rest of this we can leave for now, and I will just push those to the repository. So Balethal, you should have access to those, and I guess anybody else who's looking at our repo will be able to grab those if you need. All right. So we have our Vicar here, but we also have our missionary. So I suppose we'll go ahead and save the missionary, even though I just synced all the models. Let's see if we can. See if we can tell any differences here.
Prepare to speak. Task received. Location.
I'm gonna be real. I'm having a hard time. I mean, I can tell he's got a different silhouette now because of the way that his guns are set up. But he doesn't look that different than he used to.
Task received.
Even the walk cycle doesn't really feel like. If I slow it down, it probably does, right? Yeah, you can kind of tell.
Eyes for yours. Constant motion.
Because this is like a man stride, and this is like a fucking goat stride. So you can definitely tell when it's slowed down, but when it's at normal speed, it doesn't really. It's fine. It works. It's okay, right?
For yours. Scanning. Surround.
I do want to update the walk cycle of the proselyte insofar as I would also like to like change how he's animating. I kind of want him to almost, not quite as ludicrous as this sounds, but I almost want him to Naruto run, where his arms are like by his side and he's kind of hoofing it, you know, like a real run, and not just my arms are slapped down here because they're like weighted and whatever. I think the missionary walking around like that is fine because they're meant to look a little bit bulkier in that respect. But I think the proselyte should actually look a little bit different when walking or running. You know, another way to make it so that they feel a bit different in motion as well. So I think we can do that at some point soon. Yeah, I guess. I mean, I guess the missionary doesn't need to not be synced after those adjustments. I think it'll be fine, right? Maybe we'll go ahead and update the idle pose of the proselyte. Maybe he'll have one gun, like pointed up like a killer, and his other gun will be scanning. So. But we'll do that after the vicar. Now we're to run into Terran Area 51. It'll end about as well for them as considering. All right, so the biggest thing that I think I'm immediately seeing we can do about the vicar here is that the idle animation the idle pose needs to be very different, right? Let's just be honest here. I know this might communicate that he's like kind of steadfast or whatever, like he's kind of like relaxed in some capacity. That his arm is down in that way, but I don't. Oh yeah, I think that's occasion. Keeping it aimed more towards himself, I think, is fine. And then, of course, we gotta go to edit mode and do that so as to change the walk cycle in the same way. I'm thinking for the silhouette itself, go ahead and invert this. And make this almost seem like it's like a battery of sorts, right? And then I think we will make the tail a little bit more pronounced. A touch longer. So that it's a little bit more obvious that this guy's like a more important unit. Tails signify something for Askosi. They typically have their tails removed as part of their, enlistment, if you will. So if you survive long enough to rise through the ranks, you are allowed to basically, that shows that your tail is growing back, right? So you're given the honor of having more armor that's like better suited for that kind of thing. Because tails do make armor a fucking nightmare to craft, so. Additionally, I think it would be appropriate. Let's see. Okay, I think this is right. I'm thinking we'll just go ahead and do that as the scaling factor. And then we can go ahead and do the same thing here where we do this and this. We probably don't change much else. So these are like proportional changes. It does maybe make the vicar look a bit less imposing. So I wonder if maybe I can offset that a little bit. by doing this. I don't really know if that makes much of a difference. Probably not a huge difference. It does something wonderful to the normal map, but besides that, I don't think it does much. Okay, I think that's probably a sufficient setup here. Of course, in motion, he's going to look very much like the missionary, and eventually, like, the proselyte will look a little bit different eventually. But I actually think we can adjust this fairly easily. Let's zoom in. We don't need like 100 keyframes, right? So if we look at this guy here, it doesn't look like his walk cycle. Yeah, his walk cycle changes for the arm here. It doesn't change very often, right? So we could have him walk with the gun forward, right? I guess it would actually entail us grabbing this and this. So we do this. We can do rotation here. And then I think all we really need to do is copy the pose, right? And then paste the pose and do the rotation. And then do it again here. And then oh, what did I do? Let's do this. Okay. Yeah, I think that's already a difference in the walk cycle, right? Because he's basically like stepping forward while still having his gun at the ready. And I think that's appropriate for what the Vicar is. For this arm here, we can probably have it dropped more. I'm cognizant of the potential for it to be clipped through the like the leg or whatever as it comes through, but that's fine. I am noticing though that these like battery things that we tried to make are actively clipping through the leg. I think maybe they're not part of the material though. That might be why. If we were to do like leg R1. Okay. We're gonna add this here and add leg R. And this here. Yeah, that should fix that a little bit where they're at least, yeah, they're attached. Okay, so that fixes that issue. All right, so I think that's pretty good. The only thing that I can think of is maybe that like the torso yeah, the torso still has these selected, so we should remove these from that. And the spine does not have these selected. Okay, so okay, we should be good there. All right, I think that's probably fine as improvements to the Vicar, although I'm not sure about the proportions, of course, but we'll see how those look. Alexander was in the chat earlier asking if it's correct to say that the Vicar or the Askosi overall are actually meant to be smaller in stature to the Terrans. I've gone back and forth on their height in my own head as like what I think would be the most epic or thematically appropriate, but definitely in terms of like you could probably 1v1 if you're just a dude or even a well-built lady and you're walking around and you met an Askosi of a similar age and build to you, you probably could beat him in a fist fight. And that's partially because, I'm not gonna lie, it's really generic for like any alien species to just be like uniformly better physically than humans. And I think it's more interesting and also more true to the rest of the thematics of the Askosi if they're not quite like that and they need technology to supplement that. And so that's what it is. Crazy how simple these models are. Yeah, we're not building high-res shit, you know? Hey, what's up, Lucy? Yeah, we've been adjusting some stuff in the model department. So I just updated the Vicar and the Missionary. We can pop open the Proselyte and see if we can fix up the idle pose. Well, if it's like a woman can beat a woman Askosi up. There's gonna be I mean, some women can beat some female humans can beat ass against the some male humans too, right? So there's gonna be different parts of it for sure. Godwheat in the chat, Lucy in the chat. What's up, guys? Yeah, there will always be outliers, but broadly speaking, it is what it is. Okay, so we are going to try to grab the pose mode here. We're in the idle pose. And like I said earlier, I like the idea of this guy flexing that our engine can have asymmetric stuff, right? So this guy is going to be like... How long do I think I'll be streaming tonight? How long have I already been streaming? Only an hour? I got at least 2 more hours. I always wanted to do a 3-hour stream this whole time. I mean, come on, doesn't this look kick-ass? I mean, I know it's laggy as fuck, but... That's because I'm rendering it, okay, guys? By the way, this is definitely inviting the wrath of Blender, where it's just going to crash or whatever in the middle of it. I think this is a very distinctive Askosi, stance, if you will. One thing that I am also considering, though, is spacing the legs out a little bit. Yeah, I think that's gonna look pretty good. How come things got so big? Because that's currently the best way that I have to display the difference, and the models will eventually look much better and distinct. And soon you will fear small Askosi infantry that happen to look significant in other ways. That's why. That's the answer. I hope that explains it. You can consider it a technical constraint, if that helps. Okay. I didn't really think too fondly about the idea of adjusting the scale or proportions or whatever, but I think it's actually fine to do here. Also, I'm pretty sure my render finished in fact. So good. All right. Let's do this. All right, and I remember what I said already. I don't even need to ask. Because I remember there's one other thing I wanted to do. Why are we so zoomed in? What the fuck, dude? Okay. I remember. So he's getting ready to step forward with his right. I'm trying to think about like how you. Yeah, it's the opposite, right? So his left arm should move forward during this. Oh, start 3 and 10. Whoa. The Olympian is definitely in an exoskeleton, that's for sure. The Olympian is not. Well, I mean, the Olympian has power armor on, but he's also genetically engineered, so. Just that tall, yeah. I'm excited to see a Bloodsummon model soon, Alexander. All just Iron Man suits. Yeah, I wanted exaggerated arm movement, but every time I think I've got it, it's always like, nah, dude, you need more arm movement than that for sure. Like it's never quite enough, and I'm not really sure why. Like, how exaggerated do I gotta get? You know what I'm saying? It must be more, clearly. Alright, that hopefully has a little bit more motion to it anyway. We'll see what it looks like in action. It's hard for me to preview it here. Yeah, there were definitely some cool Bloodsummon concepts. We'll see about which ones would work best as a worker, though. That I don't know yet. So of this listing here, we should have taken care of the missionary, vicar, and proselyte, which are the back three there on the right. The insurant is also a thing, though, and we should probably try to make some adjustments to that guy. I think he's probably the last one that we'll actually make adjustments for right now. I don't think I need to worry about much else. So we're just going to do kind of the same set of things in general that we've decided are pretty good for the overarching changes we want to make, which is to do this and then do this. And then oh, that kind of creates an interesting shape. I didn't intend for that, but I think I'll keep that. That's fine. Final adjustments here. One hand on hip. Those shapes are meant to be like power cells, so I'm hoping that in general, assists there. It does look like our willy-nilly scale changes have resulted in some prank. for the pose, so we're going to need to adjust that for sure. We'll fix that up in a moment here. Askosi. Is the new faction analogous to Warcraft's Undead? We'll actually be talking a little bit about them pretty soon, because I think we're at the end of our Askosi time. However, I will see if I can draft some unit responses for the Vicar, since it was reminded. The Bloodsummon are, like, bone as hard as metal, blood as thick as plasma, and certainly as viciously powerful as it. Body horror amped up pretty high. A lot of viscera, and, you know, to put a point on it, you know, one of their branches is pustulant. So, you know, maybe spreading diseases, things that can happen to a body in that way. People have been telling me what the Bloodsummon sound like to them, and like Burning Legion, or demons from Warhammer, or, you know, Chaos, or whatever. I don't know. I'm not making them, like, with something like that in mind. But, yeah, there's definitely a lot of body horror to them. Alright, it sounds like my render is done, so I should be able to try and figure out what went wrong here. This doesn't really seem like it should be a bone constraint. What the fuck? Well, I guess we gotta go into edit mode. And just straight up move these up. I don't know if that's going to work out. It looks like maybe it did. Yeah. Sure did. Okay. Yeah, we're in edit mode there, so that wouldn't work. Okay, so we're doing the insurance render now. Terrans are more undead than Bloodsummon really did get me. That was funny. Well, some sins will definitely be inspiration for unit names. I guess I can pop this open. I was just responding to a message real quick. I don't remember my my thing. Yeah, there's gonna be some cool stuff for sure. We don't have the Chaos Gods as far as I'm aware. The Cornerstone mentions demons ascending to godhood. I take that to be hyperbole, since I don't think it would be fun gameplay to have the enemy get juggled in one turn. Well, I mean, hyperbole might be an appropriate word there, but there's people that, like, describe power of the gods all the time, you know? Nukes, etc. Though I guess to your credit, or to your point, nukes might be a real nuisance in that respect. All right, had to take a seat. Legs getting tired. I got to go to bed kind of early today. I might not be able to make 3 hours after all. I got to wake up at 5 a.m. to start our lovely stream. The Ritual of Wrath is called so because you're killing people in order to accelerate your production. So, yeah, pretty cool. Yeah, 8 hours of sleep is, I would love that. Do that way. I just got started later than I thought. I thought I'd get started at 5 local time, and instead I was like 7:15. Making an Askosi civilian based on the concept art. First of all, civilian units are a thumbs up for me. But yeah, using it as a base, particularly in terms of the mesh, would be a great win for us, I think. Yeah, gods with a little g. Yeah, it's true. It's not raised to godhood capital G. Yeah. Yeah, Bloodsummon are the result of a of like humans trying to deny death and not pay up the price necessary to access the awe-inspiring technology and power that is latent within their minds, you know? So basically it's like saying it's pointing out that there's not a good system in place for, like, if you're going to cheat death, it's going to come back to you in some way. And so, like, what, you know, the Bloodsummon in-universe have been speculated to be, like, the souls of the reclaimed, but it's probably more complicated than that. What are those cornerstones? What's up, Arbus? Yeah, this is the Bloodsummon cornerstones. I mean, we don't have, like, custom art yet for them. No. Only there was a god that defeated death and granted them a way out of their predicament. Well, guess we better try and alchemy or science our way out of it. Fuck yeah, dude. Can I have a link? No, you cannot. This is on my local page. It is not. It is nowhere. You will have to take screenshot. Or be a donor. I have released these to the donors. Very glad to see they have a building called an atrium. Fingers crossed for ventricles and capillaries. Yeah, Valerie. There's a lot of stuff that's going to be body oriented. You know, a bit blurry. Yeah, that's probably true. And sometimes it just vanishes because I alt tab. I can't believe it. Bloodsummon units are just Karen portraits, but ultra realistic blood is coming out of their eyes. Oh shit. I never would have thought. I'll tell you what. I'll leave this on the stream for a little bit, and then I'll BRB, and then we'll get to some of this. I have returned. There was some serious there's some serious autism happening in the best kind of sense. Let's take a look at chat. How you guys doing? See you later, Shambler. Babylon. Scroll up here. I got a little bit pranked. This body is a harvest. Let's need a cerebellum. That's a good idea. That's like the tech node. Town center name? Okay, yeah, maybe. I was thinking tech node because Atrium's town center. But I guess it's like, you know, heart and brain or whatever, right? It's you think this race would have a building called Monument of Sin? Wink. There's multiple gods across various pantheons that defy death. There's a lot to draw from. Yeah. I'm watching this with 2 dogs on top of me, LMAO. That's a good idea. Bark. With you, that makes 3. Absolutely got him, dude. Don't make all the good concepts fall asleep. Well, I don't make the good concepts fall asleep. I guess maybe I dream of them. Shambler, are you alright? Alright, guys. Is the reason Terrans use hero portraits like the Magnetar using Duran's portrait, but the Protoss don't have any units that use Tassadar or Phoenix portrait? That's just because I didn't find, like, better ones. Like, for a while, the Pazuzu used the Duke portrait. And Madrigal, too. And eventually I replaced them with, like, stuff that worked. The Magnetar using Duran's portrait is kind of probably an oversight. I probably just didn't remember that it existed there. All right, so I guess there's going to be a lot of people who are like kind of first timing the Bloodsummon stuff. They're going to be looking at it for the first time. So I will go give a quick overview of what we got here as far as the progress that we've made so far. So we've defined the cornerstones, which basically indicate that like you can sacrifice / kill units near they kill enemy units as well near construction sites, and that will expedite their production. You can also empower some units with witnessing death in the line of the Mortothra Corps. Then you've got the Call of Envy here, which is forceful acquisition. This is their temporary version of mind control, similar to like the OG Mind Tyrant mind control that like receded when the Mind Tyrant was killed. Something similar to that will be applied to the Bloodsummon, but also things that are reducing somehow turning strengths against them. Not in a hard countery sense, ideally, but things like, when hit by an attack, for every range the projectile traveled, some benefit occurs. So, like, not very good versus melee. Obviously, it doesn't really have an effect against melee, but might be able to reduce incoming damage by a factor of the range that it was sent or something like that, right? And so, Phalanx might still deal a lot of damage, but, if it's like Architect missile split or something, maybe it gets reduced by a good amount or something like that. And that might be like an aura projection or whatever. So it's like good for versus crowd control stuff. So that is definitely a component there. Then we've got the Eon of Pride, which is keyed as basically having like units that gain power as they draw lower on HP. Also, my microphone is buzzing, so give me 1 second. I think I might have fixed it. Apologies for any sound effects. Then, so this is like, you might get attack speed or lifesteal or damage or range or anything like that. That could be a pretty obvious thing to try to play around with. Obviously, you can trigger this yourself if you attack your own Bloodsummon unit. They aren't going to have Zerga regeneration, so the way that they might gain power back or health back would have to be through dedicated healing mechanics, be it lifesteal. There's going to be a decent amount of that for the Bloodsummon, or some other form of healing. So that's like Eon of Pride. And then Sin Deified is what people were talking about earlier in chat, where you can raise individual Bloodsummon combatants, specific ones. You can raise them to godhood, as it's called, lowercase g, through Massacre. And we haven't exactly decided how it's going to work out, but I like the idea of, scaling it based on, the easiest thing to think about is scaling it based on number of units killed, but that favors Zerg, and canonically Bloodsummon actually hate the Zerg, despise them, think they're a waste. They eat all of the good corpses and then they leave behind trash that the Bloodsummon barely can use. So, Zerg are considered junk food by Bloodsummon, which is a funny way to put it. Dumpster diving, basically. Protoss are like an acquired taste. They're all right. And then the best shit that you're going to get are like Kogri and humans. Terrans. So. Well, just wait till race number 6. But yeah, these kinds of mechanics are here to define the Bloodsummon era, if you will. Their first unit, the Akwi, is a harvester, as you might imagine, the shorthand for acquire or what have you. They also have a pretty neat little passive that indicates they're probably going to be your best scouting unit. But there's probably a host of other options for this particular mechanic in some ways. You'll notice they take less training time than the average harvester at 12 time instead of 14, and they cost half as many minerals, but they also can't build anything. Forlorn Haste is their passive. While isolated within 3 range, this combatant gains double movement speed, so they also have a worse attack than other workers. Their attack does not have any armor pen, it does not have as much of an attack speed, and it doesn't do as much damage. So... Oh, Askosi are fast food, junk food, or whatever. But that's what it was. It was Askosi as junk food, and Zerg is dumpster diving. So that was the difference there. I just forgot about the Askosi for a moment, even though I was just doing that. The Dredge is a smith, better combat unit than the Akwi by a good amount. And then, you'll see that when a death occurs within 8 range of the Dredge, it gains 1 armor and increased attack speed by 1/3 for 5 seconds. So this actually is going to be a pretty potent unit to use. It won't be the fastest moving unit, so you can kind of outrun it with like a missionary or a proselyte or a maverick that with stim or whatever, There's going to be things that you can handle there, but the Dredge is going to be responsible for building your structures and for initiating your constructions. I think they will probably initiate construction and then they'll become the structure temporarily. Think about how the Agrolith works, right? So they become the structure and then they pop out of the structure afterwards. We're going to be using similar mechanics for the Dredge, I think, where the idea is that they are inside the construction and then they emerge after. Although ideally, if I can flavor it properly, the Dredge will actually be visible during construction, but not selectable and not attackable. And that's going to be part of the construction graphic, if you will, is the Dredge sort of holding his hands up like this, to call forth the power. And then, as he's doing so, the structure forms around him, and then he emerges from it as he's spat back out or whatever. So that's the summoning ritual for the Askosi or the Bloodsummon structures. And then we have, of course, the atrium, as mentioned. It's I don't know why in this particular test bed here we have the lacking created by and creates, but it takes. I think it might have been copied from the Landlock, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it looks like it was. So I haven't actually decided what the mineral cost and time cost are. It's not going to be 90 seconds. So I guess I can think about that right now, but that's not super important right in this moment, of course. Plasmapheresis. What is pheresis? I know telekinesis. What does this mean? Oh, it separates blood into components like plasma, white blood cells, or platelets. That's pretty cool. I'll keep that in mind. I keep, let's see, where is Bloodsummon? I'll keep logging this stuff, Cerebellum. What was the other one that somebody had in chat? I think it was The lovely, deadly Italian said ventricles and capillaries. Yeah. Cool. That sounds absolutely terrible, Lucy. I am sorry you had to see that. I may have actually already defined an origin for stuff like this. You are going to see some similarities here. This bulbous blood orb is a stark sign of the times. Yeah, I really liked the thrombocyte from Onatar. This is a pretty cool unit idea, in my opinion. The concept that we had here is that they fired projectiles out, and each projectile had collision. And if it hit an ally, they would heal them for the damage that it deals, which is only 4. And then, obviously, if it hit an enemy, it would just deal damage, right? I think that's a really neat idea for a unit. And I also think Bloodsummon are going to be the type of race to have, I attack you to heal you as a trait. So this is probably going to be... I don't know if they're going to fire the projectiles radially in the same way. That might be an active ability to do that. And their default attack may be a short-ranged projectile, and when it attacks an ally, it heals them. That's probably what we'll have as a general idea. So, you can heal your melee units, yeah. We'll just have a little allure, a little nod to that. So we also have to set its category to 1. And I don't really have a good... I don't have an icon actually processed for it yet, and I don't have a good... idea about what icons we have. Let's see. The icons don't matter too much right now because they are so... This is only built in my neck of the woods anyway, so... Smith thrombocyte attack timing. Well, if you guys haven't noticed, both the Bloodsummon and the Askosi have dual uses for their town centers. The Askosi are more direct because Proselyte is just a straight up combat / utility unit, but it's meant for the front line, or it's meant for a harassment job. And the Dredge is a builder, but you can definitely do combat with them. So if you were to sustain your Dredge and then it gets it, it hits the attack and all that, it works pretty well, I think. I did have some structure names here like Artery and stuff like that, but yeah. Artery feels like something that would allow you a utility structure though. Like you would pass through it. Or maybe artery is their gas cap. Their ridge cap, artery? I think that's a cool one. Yeah, sever the artery is a killer line for if you snipe these or whatever. Capillary and artery. Oh, maybe capillary is better for the ridge cap. And artery can be the gas cap. I think that makes sense, right? All of our brains together make at least 3 brains. Well, I mean, let me actually confirm I understand what capillary even means. It's it's a vessel, whereas artery is a pathway. Like, artery and vein, obviously, is like one thing, but artery is a blood vessel that carries oxygen. Oh, never mind. I thought artery was like a thicker vein or whatever, but... Oh, okay, yeah. In that case, they're basically the same. Vessel was the name of a unit in Bloodsummon territory, so probably will end up doing that again. Maybe as an advanced worker or something. This is stuff we can and should probably write it down. Advanced worker for the vessel. The vessel has to be the transport. Yeah, that's also a good point. You know, advanced worker, transport. Yeah, capillary and capillary plus. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. You have a vessel already? No, you have vassal. It's 1 letter difference, dude. That's so different. Come on now. Yeah, I wasn't sure, honestly. Do I want it or not? You can tell this guy doesn't play Protoss. Shit, I forgot about Unquenchable Thirst. That's a good one. Stacking lifesteal on a structure is pretty legit. We probably gotta wrap up here pretty soon, but I like where we're going. I like what we're doing here. Obviously our structures and stuff are a little bit pranked right now, but that's okay. I shouldn't agonize too much over the icon, I think. Yeah. Just make the fucking capillary yeah. Make it a proper. Just everything must be the what's the structure name or the unit? I forget the unit name right now. Lucy will know. Come on, Lucy. Tell us all what it is. The Iblileth. That's the, I made the icon for the capillary, the Iblileth. That's what I got for you guys right now. Yeah, the other versions are coming, that's for sure. I gotta catch up on that. What was that other one that somebody was saying? Strigoi? Strigoi. I don't even know what that is. Oh, spirits that rise from the grave. Yeah, it's possible that... it's possible to do something like that. I don't hate the idea. The same thing as Striga? Okay, well, probably not then. But yeah, Latin is pretty legit, and has already been used for the Bloodsummon, so it will continue to be used. What you guys are finding out is that it's very easy to have a lot of options for it's very easy to have a lot of options for names when you don't have a lot of options, when you don't already have a lot of units, you know what I mean? The dermis. I'm not sure if I'll be using mythological stuff from Terrans. I kind of want to have the idea that like Terran spirits or whatever are there, but also that Kogri are there, and maybe the occasional Protoss or even Askosi. I kind of like the idea that they're incorporating the Death Defiers of all of the races, and it's just way more common for Terran and Kogri to have that. I'm writing this stuff down, guys. I'm writing this stuff down. This is what I pay you all for in new races to play with. Television being a mix of Latin and Greek is the real prank. Well, Bloodsummon television. Look out, guys. He's building the television. Beware. The television walks the earth. What did I just do? Oh, I made an untitled file. That's not what I want. Maybe it's not an energy spell at all. A melting pot full of blood. What did I even call it in Unitar? Swarmer. I guess we'll call it that for now. All right. I think that's a pretty good place to stop there. We've got our first combat unit out of the torrential area. I'm thinking that even though it's a pretty cheap unit, it's the price in both time cost and mineral cost of the average worker. One of the thoughts that I did have for this guy was maybe being able to somehow create more thrombocytes from some other source. But it wouldn't be through a passive from themselves. It's not like the Simulacrum or the Solver Core, which can kind of create copies of itself through various interactions. I think that will be a a torrential unit that you can make from the skin shed or something like that, which is going to be the structure. Also, we have our artery and our capillary, so that's cool. But yeah, that's going to be pretty neat, for sure. Let's also look at the dredge here. Artery, capillary, skin shed, fibrous font. And what else do we got? I like antibody as a structure name. I think that's pretty good. So, borrowing some of these from other stuff, but that's all right. So yeah, we do have some good shit for this, I think. 100 mineral cost for the builder means that you do got to watch out for your builder cost. Antibody has static defense, yep. Yeah. Absolutely. All right, guys. Just steal this from Vital Device. I have no idea what Vital Device named their ship, but that's not a bad idea to at least look at them. Yeah, it was the We're in a Body RTS game. So, we got some good progress done on the Bloodsummon. We definitely got some good progress done on the Askosi models. So I am going to push those and, well, get everything ready for our match tomorrow. GG's. I'll be live again in, let's see, 10, I think it's 7 hours, 7.5 hours or so? No, 8.5 hours? I can't remember. But at 5 o'clock in the morning Eastern time. I'll see you guys. Some of you guys will be seen then. A lot of you guys probably won't be. GG.